So I went to undergraduate at Penn State University in State College, Pennsylvania, and my undergraduate degree was in microbiology. And after that, I went to Penn State Hershey for their medical school and had a wonderful experience there.
You mentioned a little bit about your inspiration from your mother, and obviously the wonderful Mother Teresa, for your caring nature and your desire to become a physician. And I think that's amazing. And then you touched on, just addressing the fact that grieving is allowed and it's actually encouraged for physicians, because people often think that physicians aren't human, and you are very human. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I had an excellent experience in medical school in terms of the academics. I had a fantastic class and wonderful faculty, but what I did not realize is that I had lost my mom right before attending medical school. I did take a year off between college and med school, but when you're that young, you just don't necessarily understand how important it is to grieve. And so I really was grieving when I began medical school and did not seek anyone out to help me with that. Mostly probably from a lack of self-awareness and not understanding the importance of going through that process of grief. And so it was kind of a lonely experience, even though academically, I really threw myself in the books.
Yeah.
And so did extremely well, academically. And so that was really helpful. But leaving that, and then in residency, I was really, truly blessed to find a family. And it was really in residency that I began to heal and that I began to sort of let myself be human again and to delve into some of that. And it's been vital for my entire career and for what I do now as a caregiver to caregiver, so to speak. My heart is really for physicians and to help us do better in a tough climate.
Yes, that's wonderful. And so within medical school, I know you said that you kind of built a family and just found your own way. Did you have any mentors or anyone to kind of walk you through just the process and academically, having that support system?
Yeah, my mentors that have persisted for my entire career really began. I had a few people that were go-to people in medical school, but then in residency, it really hit home, and that's where we really had like a family, and so some of those physicians that walked through that process with me, and I walked through some difficult things with them, we are still in each other's lives. And that is a real gift that our medical education can give us if we pursue that, right? I also had a tremendous mentor. His name is Dr. Black, and he was a surgeon. And he was an unusual surgeon in the sense that for the first time really in my entire training, I saw somebody who really connected with each patient before surgery. He would even pray with his patients. He would support them mind, body, soul, spirit in every way. And that again also became foundational for, how my entire career over 25 years in medicine has gone. And that's really my approach to both my patients and also my physician colleagues, is that we need to be human first. And that what that means is we are mind, body, soul, spirit. And so we need to address each of those components of who we are, not just the mind. Everything impacts everything else, so it's so important.
Absolutely, you're absolutely true about that. And the type of medicine that you practice, what's your area of specialty? And did you start in practice and maybe go into a different field, or have you always done the same thing?
I am a board certified family physician. I absolutely love family medicine. I went into family medicine because I wanted to care for the entire family, and that's what I have done for most of my career. I did transition after I went through a bit of burnout myself in my career. I then went through coaching with someone who really took my life and my career sort of in a different direction, so that I then began to do more urgent care so that I could have a little bit more control over my schedule and be able to then begin to write, begin to speak at the state and national level, at medical conferences, at physician well-being conferences, and also help my colleagues as a coach, which is much of what I do now. And so, you know, the things that have happened to me throughout my career, including beginning to burn out, and thankfully finding someone who helped me get through that in a very healthy way, that then became foundational for the whole next phase of my career. All these things have been so foundational. And, you know, I feel like none of it has been wasted. And I've been able to help both medical students, residents, physician colleagues, to really recapture joy in their work, which is something that if we lose it, if we lose a sense of purpose and meaning in what we're doing, it just stops being fun. And also it can take a toll in our emotional well-being and our family lives and our personal health. And so I'm very passionate about ensuring that physicians, again, are human first, take care of themselves so that we can take care of others. We can give what we don't have.
Absolutely. And then that goes into physicians working together. You know, the motto there is to connect, collaborate, and care. And it's really important for physicians to connect with each other, collaborate, and care for one another and medical students. And, you know, that's what we aim to do. We want to show those who are matriculating now through medical school that, you know, there is a finish line to the journey. And if you had to provide any advice to medical students going through school right now, what would you say to them through their toughest times?
You know, I think it is critical to not isolate. I think it's very important going through something as difficult as medical school and residency training to look for that sense of family, to start growing that sense of camaraderie that we all crave and need, and it's so good for us. And to not isolate also from those people who helped you get to where you are. I think that's one thing I see is that for medical students or residents at whatever phase is that, you know, often those relationships that were central to get you there, those people who believed in you, who would encourage you, who would help you, sometimes those relationships are not nurtured once we get so busy in training. And it is so crucial to not only develop new ones, but also to continue to nurture those that, you know, that have been a part of our lives up until that point. And I think when we do that, when we seek community, we are much healthier in the process, and we have someone that we can always reach out to who will help us, who will believe in us.
Absolutely. You're definitely right. And, you know, during these times now with COVID-19 and just the uncertainty, we want to make sure that it doesn't frighten medical students, and we want them to know that they are supported. And this is a great learning experience to kind of figure out different ways to troubleshoot and just do more research and just figuring out solutions to problems beforehand, because we've learned the hard way that, you know, we need each other, our physicians need each other to just manifest through problems like this. And we're thankful to have physicians like you who even care, and, you know, and a group like Physicians Working Together to share their voices and, you know, just lead the way. That's really what it's all about. So we're so grateful for everything that you've done so far, and that goes into your book. I'd like for you to tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. I wrote Recapturing Joy in Medicine. It really grew out of my own deep desire to recapture joy myself. And so really it's interesting that it began to be written in my mind just about halfway through my own coaching that I went through to heal and to process, you know, why was I not thriving when I love my patients, I love medicine, and I have given my entire life to this, right? And so when that happens, you know, what I've learned as you know, my area is physician wellness and burnout prevention, leadership and advocacy. And what I've learned in that is that the top predictor for physicians to burn out, and I believe it's a lot more than burnout, but our top predictor for burnout is our inability to do an excellent job at what we do. I don't know a single doctor, medical student who goes to medical school to be mediocre.
Right.
And so when find ourselves in environments in which we feel that we have to simply settle for mediocrity for our patients, that is not good enough. It's not good enough for us, so it's not good enough for our patients, because we went into medicine to help people, and that's what we want to do. And so I went through this whole process myself, where I began to gain self-awareness. I began to see some things in myself that were not helpful: perfectionism, a lack of boundaries, things that I address in the book. And so, having gone through all that myself and become stronger, and learning the importance of speaking up, and understanding that as physicians, we are the leader of the team and we are the experts in medicine. And so if we don't speak up, who is advocating for our patient, right? They lose their advocate when we don't speak up. So we must not go mute, even if it takes great sacrifice to speak up. And so my book is an attempt to remind us of who we are, remind us of the sacrifices we have made, which have been significant and remain significant throughout our careers. Certainly the COVID pandemic has brought that to the light for everyone to see. And so it's my attempt to say, listen, this is who we are. Let's step into those shoes and lead healthcare and medicine again, because if we don't, it will continue to hurt everyone, including our patients, including our own health, our settings, and where we are. So even, our staff needs us to lead, our patients need us to lead, and we ourselves, our own health depends upon us leading, because again, our top predictor of burnout is when we're unable to do an excellent job. So my book is an attempt to just bring all that, to inspire, to empower my colleagues, to educate the public. I've had people from veterinarians to lawyers to teachers read my book and say, hey, this could apply to my field. And it's true in that sense, but for physicians in particular, and physician or leaders in healthcare, the book can really just kind of bring all that to the light and empower us to step into that leadership role.
Absolutely. Leadership is definitely needed. And I think, as you continue to unite your voices, that eventually the rest of the world and healthcare administration and everyone who's trying to step into that role will understand that it's better when physicians work together to create those voices of leadership. Most definitely.
I have to tell you that I met Dr. Kim Jackson in Washington, D.C. when we were both advocating for physicians and patients, and this was some years ago now. And from the day I met her, I knew that she was genuine, and she was genuinely interested in uniting physicians. And there is no greater need in medicine today but for physicians to come together. So I'm deeply honored to have been asked to be in the advisory board for physicians working together, because that's exactly what we need to do. If we continue in our little silos, if we continue just focusing on our own specialty, in our own little bubble world, we will continue to be plowed over.
Right.
A multitude of people who are not empowering us to lead, and don't necessarily also have our wellness at heart. And so we need to come together. And so that's why organizations like Physicians Working Together are timely and extremely important right now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Sanchez. And I'll conclude with I want you to tell everyone where they can find you, what's your website, your social media information, and things like that, so that they can get in touch with you if they have any questions about your areas of expertise, your book, and everything about you.
If anybody wants to get in touch with me, the best way is through my website, which is www.faithfulmd for medical doctor, faithfulmd.com. And under resources are all my books, including my latest one, Recapturing Joy in Medicine. And also, that will link to, I have 2 blogs, and but from there, people can find me.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Sanchez, for your time. I look forward to hearing more from you and just learning more about what you have to offer in medicine. It's been very refreshing speaking with you today.
Thank you so much.